Welcome. This is a new format for us. Welcome to this first virtual meeting of our network. We had a lot of interest. We were hoping for a small group and for everybody to talk, but today we are so excited to have so many of you, and I recognize a lot of faces. I am going to move kind of quickly through a couple of slides and announcements and that kind of thing. Does everybody see our agenda on the screen here?
Yes.
So just some goals that we have is just to learn from and get to know our network and then to share updates and opportunities. So I'm going to start with some quick welcome and introductions. Then the real meat of today is what Teddy and Julie, who I'll introduce, and Jeff are really going to provide for us with is seeding a conversation for all of us about what are our VMN values. And how do we apply them, which is something that I wanted to just kick off this space with. And then I do have some updates, practical things for people, some next steps, and to kind of reflect on the format a little bit. But this is what we're hoping to all do together today. So I like to just have a quick couple of norms since this is a really big group. One thing I like to say is just step up, step back. So if you've already spoken a lot, and this is for our hosts as well, step back and listen. Yes, and so if someone says something that's different than your perspective, maybe we can think of a way to build on what they're saying or prevent, counterpoint, but also building and collaborating. So we are here to connect and have fun. I should also have on here. But I also do want people to really think about all the ways to connect with each other. So please use the chat. Please raise your hand. And passing notes is okay. So you can send me messages. You can send Teddy messages. You can send your friends who are here messages. Like we assume that's all going on and making this virtual space a fun and dynamic one. See what's next here. Oh, so just so we're all on the same page, welcome to the McCarthy Venture Mentoring Network space where our goal as a network is really to support our founders and ventures to be more successful. We have so many amazing founders connected to Northeastern students that are amazing. And so this is what we do together. My role is to, and as staff and as lead mentors, those of you who want to be more active in helping with shaping our network, our role is to curate this community. So making sure we have the mentors in the network that we need, that people are getting guidance on what they need, and that mentors included in that. And so we consider you all part of our entrepreneurship ecosystem. So now we're moving to the introductions. I don't want to delay anything anymore. My name is Katrina Brink. I have been part of this network for 1 year. I am currently the Associate Director of the network. I'm hoping people are willing to drop into the chat their name, how long you've been with VMN, and welcome to those of you that are new. I've invited a lot of people that are hoping to get involved with our network. So please let us know that. And I would, if you're open to it, please also drop into the chat a value you bring to your network, to your mentoring, sorry. So what do you value? And I will drop mine in a moment. I did want to, as we're doing that, just let you know that we have 3 amazing co-hosts for this meeting, Jeff McCarthy, Teddy Joyce, and Julie Meyer. They all have a different role in our network. They're all lead mentors in different ways. Jeff is our co-founder, 10 years with the network and still mentoring. Teddy Joyce came to us actually through the Rue Institute, which many people might be familiar with, but has been with VMN for 5 years, but is very, very active in shaping our network here in Boston for the last year. Appreciative to him. And Julie, who is only been teaching at Northeastern for 1 semester, yet we are pulling her in fast and furiously because she is a mastermind mentor at the Win Lab. So I'm going to let I'm going to, in that order, have them introduce themselves. They're each going to just talk for a couple of moments about who they are, what values they bring to their mentoring, and how they apply those values in their mentoring. And then we are going to open it up for discussion, conversation. So I am going to now stop sharing my screen and turn the mic over to Jeff is here, right there. Jeff, can I hand it over to you?
Please, no problem.
All
Can
right.
you just give me a thumbs up, everybody, if you can hear me?
Yes.
Thumbs up. Okay, good. Well, thank you. And thank you, Katrina. Uh, Katrina asked me to give a little bit of background, but I do see some familiar faces here, folks who have been in the network for quite some time. And my new friend, Richard Core, I see there from London. Hello, Richard. Good to see you. And that's going to be part of one thing I'm going to chat about a little bit. Not London particularly, but remote campuses in general. But just by way of background, for those who maybe not know how we started this thing, it was not started by just me. It was started by myself and another McCarthy, because as you all know, in Boston, there's no shortage of McCarthys. They're all over the place. And so I started it with another McCarthy, who happens to be now retired, but a professor at Northeastern in the business school for 52 years before he retired. So quite a guy. His name is Dan McCarthy. And if you don't know Dan and you have an opportunity to get to meet Dan, it's a real treat. He's a wonderful, wonderful professor and a wonderful human being. And so Dan and I got to be connected before we started the network. So this would be maybe 15, 18 years ago. Hopefully you can't hear that background. I'm kind of camping out in a conference area. And Dan had started the high-tech MBA program for people who were more entrepreneurial in general as part of the MBA that they were getting from Northeastern. He had a high-tech version of it, and it became quite successful. And he asked me to come every once in a while, and I would come and speak to the classes, the MBA class. And so it was through that I got to know Dan, and the two of us then decided that we would do something together along the lines of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial behavior, and so forth, as Northeastern was sort of ramping its activities. And actually, maybe we were late in getting it started, but we decided we would do it. So 10 years ago, we formed what is called the Venture Mentoring Network. The actual name is McCarthy with an S in the parentheses, so McCarthy's, because there's two of them. Venture Mentoring Network, and that was 10 years ago, and it's been a terrific success. Although candidly, I wish we have so many active and interested mentors that I wish we were able to really increase our supply of ventures for you folks to mentor, because the whole concept when we started was that ventures that were starting to gain some traction, that maybe had a real good product idea, they had tested the market, they really determined that there was some product market fit. It was sort of at that point when I decided that what we needed was the kind of quality mentors that could show these fledgling ventures how to do market studies, how to meet with customers, how to explain what they're doing, and how to just do all of the things that you all mentors do. And for the successful ones, it makes a huge, huge difference for them. And so that was the whole original concept. And for those that we have a mentors assigned to, those ventures, they couldn't be happier. They are the happiest people because they have someone who's been there, who's done that, is very interested in them, and all they want is the venture's success. And so that was the whole concept. And so we started it 10 years ago. It's been a success. I think we can make it better. And so the last thing I'll leave you with, because I know Katrina wants to keep this thing on schedule, but the last thing I'll leave you with is, as I said, I know Richard's trying to do a lot of entrepreneurial stuff at the London campus. And there are going to be things that are going to be done in a similar way in London that we do in Boston or in the Rue. But then there's going to be things that should be tweaked for the local presence. They do things slightly differently maybe in London, and maybe slightly differently in Oakland, and maybe slightly differently in Miami, et cetera. And so what we want to do is we want to do a Northeastern-wide mentoring approach, but then tweak it for the local so the local flavor is affected by the way that they do things. So as we're going through this today, what I'm going to be curious about is, what is it that we're doing in your minds? What are we doing right? And what are the things we can be doing a lot better? And then for those who are in different campuses or even different colleges that want to do things slightly different, I'm interested in your thoughts on how we can do things better. And so, Katrina, I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to let you take it from there.
Great. And I am going to put to you, Jeff, the question. And so I'm going to have you, Jeff, Teddy, and Julie. And Julie and Teddy, when you're up, make sure to introduce yourselves as well. But Jeff, I want to ask you, what is the value you bring to your mentoring day to day, and how do you do that? Because you are still an active mentor in our network, and I'm curious about your practice a little bit.
Well, what you'll find out for those who are not yet mentoring a venture, you'll find out that what you bring is not just general experience. You've been around a long time. You've seen a lot of things. You can be, bring that wisdom and so forth. Perhaps even more important is the domain that you come from. So maybe you're a finance person, maybe you're an engineering, a product developer, maybe you're marketing, sales, etc. So you bring that particular domain expertise. And usually the ventures are needing something like that at some point, where they're trying to knock on doors, or they're trying to get their message out, or whatever it is. And so you bring that. And then you bring an industry expertise. And so when you wrap all of that with general experience, industry expertise, and domain expertise, that bringing to having brought to a venture that's just starting is huge. So in my case, I spent a lot of time. I'm sort of a general business guy, so I help one of our ventures, which is actually doing quite well. And but I'm kind of a sales guy. When I was a sales guy early in my career, and so I bring a little bit of that. I bring a general business experience. I bring fundraising experience, and so forth. So whatever it is that they need, and I think that's what a lot of our venture mentors, you guys, also have, is a lot of good general experience that you can bring to bear.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, Teddy, I'm going to throw it to you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what is the biggest value or values you bring to your work, and how do you do it as a mentor?
Absolutely. Thank you, Katrina. I'm going to follow Jeff's wonderful suggestion here. Just a quick thumbs up, and if you can hear me and see me okay on the screen. Great. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everyone. First, I say a big thank you to Jeff. Really thank you for your leadership and your support. Obviously, we would not be here without you. So thank you for everything you bring, your passion and commitment to this. And I think part of that is what I think is reflective through our founders, our cohorts, is the passion and interest, whether it's a company, an idea, and a startup. Often where I find that some of the failure comes apart is the lack of experience that they need, which is what I think what the VMN brings to the table in terms of helping to address challenges and issues that companies, founders face in terms of going from the life cycle of from a napkin idea to then hopefully where they want to go next, whether it's a spinoff or a publicly traded company, whatever it may be. So in terms of background, by the way, Katrina's rule around, hey, step back after you've had some questions, she was directing that to me specifically. So I would just say I'll keep my comments short here. I cut my teeth in mergers and acquisitions. So 25 years at PricewaterhouseCoopers and Deloitte & Touche doing M&A. I started finding that many of my clients were making a lot of money, and I thought, wow, let me go out there and try that myself. So I started my own venture capital firm called Yellow Bear Capital, named after, in homage in respect of my wife. Her favorite color is yellow. Her favorite animal is a bear. So Yellow Bear is where I started Yellow Bear Capital. And then because my background is as an attorney doing due diligence, I started finding that a lot of companies that I was doing due diligence for I wanted to invest in, and I didn't want to be in a conflict of interest of being an attorney and being an investor. But I bring all of that to the table, really kind of an element of humanity, of getting to know our clients, getting to know our founders and their businesses, and what are those issues that they face. And sometimes I feel like just need a good therapist. All right, how do I handle this issue from day in and day out? And that's why I look at this group of talented individuals in front of me, so much expertise. I think for me, my criticism of Northeastern is we're starting to become one of those companies that's growing very quickly, a university that's growing very quickly, and we've kind of lost track of all the capabilities that we have. And I'd like to kind of spend more time kind of refining. We have such a broad bench of mentors, expertise across the board. How can we better utilize that? And as Jeff mentioned, not just as a Boston experience, it could be London, it could be Miami, pick any one of the 14 campuses we have. How do we make it more unique and specific to the needs of our students? That for me is what it all comes down to, the needs of our students. And I think part of it is giving them an experience. As a professor in DeMoore McKim and also in the College of Professional Studies, I advocate for my students to go out there and start a company, but noting to them only 1 in 10 is really successful. But what the definition of success may be that you go out there and you try it and you fail, but look at the experience that you've gained. And I think that's what I think we're trying to give our founders, our companies here as experience. So last, I'll leave with, for me, my first language is not English, it's actually Spanish. And I think to some extent, we need to learn the language of our founders and their companies, what they're trying to say. And sometimes there's translation skills that are needed in that. And I think that's where I'm hoping that we as a collective group can help them to understand the language of the industry, whether it's in a segment or a business in particular, and then help them with our own experience. And like I said, I look at this very talented group, help them navigate some of the challenges and problems, not to do it the way we did it, but give them options and then let them choose what options they want to pursue. So in a nutshell, that for me is what, like I said, Jeff, thank you once again to the McCarthys, one and all, to the opportunity that is here. And I think next is let's hone down our capabilities so that we can really focus on how we want to help our students to be more entrepreneurs. I think that's a very vague term. I'd like to define that further. But how do we get them to be entrepreneurs and really experience opportunities that I think is only we can offer to them? So I'll leave it with that and say, Katrina, thank you. It's a pleasure to be working with everyone here and look forward to many and future things to come. So.
Thanks, Teddy. So there's a lot in there. And I did throw in the chat. I know AI could do this, but I actually have found in discussions it is still helpful for people to pull out and analyze what they're seeing and hearing. So Teddy put both Jeff and Teddy have thrown a lot of things out there. And I'm taking some notes so people can contribute there too. But Julie, I want to turn it over to you.
Yeah, wonderful. Great. Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here. I am Julie Meyer. I'm fairly new to the Northeastern family. I have to say I started teaching this fall semester for the first time, and my mentor, Mark, is on the line. So thank you, Mark Doxer, for helping me get through my first semester, and the reminder of how important mentoring is no matter where you are in your life. Briefly, my background is I am a particular kind of entrepreneur in that I start B2B companies that are consulting firms that make an impact. I started a company called Eat Well Global, grew it to 30 people, B Corp, certified woman-owned business, servicing the global food industry in nutrition and sustainability strategy, and pivoted recently to building authentic connections in the workplace through mentoring, and started a company called Augmenters. And we are a customized strategic consulting firm that supports organizations in really building mentoring for a purpose. We see it as a strategic tool that is quite overlooked. So we're trying to refresh it with Augmenters. And I did get the opportunity to teach this last semester. Absolutely loved it and was so excited to know more about what's happening over at BMN. I've been involved with Babson. I'm actually the chair right now of their Center for Women's Entrepreneur Leadership, and I've had a chance to mentor and get a great deep dive in what they're doing over at Babson, which is super impressive. And what I'm excited to bring, and I loved hearing Jeff talk about what's the international aspect of this, what's the global aspect of it. And as a woman, as a female entrepreneur, I've always been involved in women entrepreneurship. We look at it a little differently. It might not be about going public and about raising tons of capital. the entrepreneur mindset is very diverse, and there are very diverse kinds of entrepreneurs. So I'm excited. My experience has been obviously bringing my marketing background, my sales background, but also my leadership background, and also really understanding what kind of a company do you really want to grow, and how can you create a sustainable business, and what does that look like for you? So I'm just excited to kind of expand the viewpoint, provide a fresh perspective, and certainly a little bit of what I've learned pretty quickly, and become a bit of an expert in mentoring. So grateful to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you all for just seeding the first round of conversation. But I do want to just open up the floor again. Please use the hand raise and or not at this point if you have any questions for Jeff, for Teddy, for Julie about their experience in the network, or want to share your experience or what you bring, other questions you have. I'll open up the floor.
Katrina, maybe I can jump in with what I would say
Sure.
a question that often comes up in the mentor-mentee relationship, which is, Teddy, am I bound to, serving as a mentor for an organization? I'd say the first question, for me, the answer is no. It should be a relationship where both parties want to be there. Both parties are working together in terms of what the defined goal is. It's often come up to me as questions of, Teddy, the company wants me to sign a non-disclosure agreement. How do we handle that? And I'm excited I got to work with Richard and Katrina and the team on a kind of a quick deliverable we did last year to kind of coach our mentors on the NDA process. And let's just say that, no, you're not bound to sign an NDA in that relationship with a mentor-mentee. So part of it is getting to, really get to know the companies, and, is it a relationship that is best suited for both parties in that discussion? And then the details of that can be vetted out. But I think part of it is maybe understanding, what is my role? What is their role? And as I like to, when I'm speaking to founders, is I will come prepared to the meeting. I expect you to come prepared too. Whether it's a deliverable, whether it's, what we're going to be covering that day, I expect them to be doing their homework for doing that. So, Katrina, I think we have Roy next.
Yeah, we have a hand raise and questions coming in the chat, which are both great. So I'm going to start. Roy, did you want to say your question as a starting point?
Thank you. And Thomas Stanford asked the same question effectively. So I've been engaged with the program for quite a while. There's been a grand total of 1 over a few years. Erstwhile companies that I've supported, turned out it was a professor at Northeastern who ended up not going to develop the company, but rather focused on his teaching and his research. How do we get more involved? I mean, and Teddy, you alluded to this, that there are 30 plus mentors on the call today, probably more that are in the wings. And are there twice that many ventures that need support? Sounds like they're not. How do we get more involved is the short question.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here, Katrina. It is the thing that I'm most concerned about, is we're not generating enough ventures for the quality of mentors we have. So before I go into a little more depth on that, I would say, please bear with us and stay patient. I know you have been. And as we've just said, it's been on for 10 years. And here's Roy. I don't know how many years you've been associated, but only 1 venture. And I'm sure that a lot of companies could use your help and expertise. So yes, we've got to get. I think we've just got to get more into the flow. Now, I will tell you that over the last decade, so we've done the mentoring network for 10 years. And 10 years ago, the Northeastern innovation, the generation of intellectual property, the stuff we get grants out of the National Institute of Health. Let's just take the last couple of months and put that aside for a second and say that grants are going to continue to flow, hopefully, and so people can do their research. They have, I think it's gone up by something like 5x at Northeastern. So there's a lot more of deep tech activity that's happening. That is going to find its way into startups, whether it's with the faculty individual or with a founder to join, a co-founder to join the faculty. So that is happening, and there's more of that. And there's going to be more of, let's say, not deep tech ventures. They're going to start happening. I wish there were more. There's going to be new stuff happening in London. There's a lot going on up in Rue for sure. There's going to be stuff happening in Miami, some in Oakland. So there's just going to be more, and I wish it was more. And so the concern is not falling on deaf ears. I know it, and Katrina knows it.
Yes, very tough. And I know we have some people on the call that can speak to this a little bit. I don't know, Richard, would you be open to jumping in and talk? So what I'll say overall is that Northeastern entrepreneurship is thriving, and there are accelerators and some of them with all different focuses and things where ventures are really getting a lot of what I talk about is like wraparound supports. They're getting all kinds of supports and mentorship. Everybody always wants mentorship to be a part of that. So we are really figuring out those ways to collaborate. And so I will at the end talk a little bit about like some next steps and accelerators, but I want to make some space for people to get to know. Richard, would you mind speaking just as an example of something that's popping up for us?
Sure, yeah, and it was one of the questions I was going to raise, because actually my role, just for everybody, I'm the head of entrepreneurship here in northeastern London. One of my roles is overseeing. I'm currently in our startup hub, so it's a dedicated space. We now have 22, and these are external startups. The concept behind this is we put external startups here, understand some of their skill gaps, and then put students within those startups. And actually, I think I haven't offered the Venture Mentor Network to these startups, but actually, I think it's a great opportunity because ultimately it all helps Northeastern, and I think they could really do with that help. And I think it's partly, and I'm guilty of it, is I don't think in some of the smaller campuses, and I include London in that as well, I don't think the publication and the awareness of the Venture Mentor Network is as broad probably as in Boston. So it's something that I can help with, but I think generally it's something that we can push, I think.
Great, thank you. And now I see some hands up, so I want to keep the conversation flowing. I will just add that here at the Boston campus and the Oakland campus and London, where there's also undergrads, there are also a lot of accelerators and incubators that are for students. So, but I think this mix of community, different aspects of our community. Okay, Mark, I think your hand was up first.
Thanks, folks, and great to be here with you all. So in addition to being a mentor, I am a professor in the E&I group. So one of the things I've noticed is that my students don't know what VMN is, don't know what this is as a resource. They know about other things, but they don't know about VMN, obviously, until they have me as a professor. But there are folks that have ideas that they've been working on. Even if they're going through IDEA, they're not as familiar with VMN as you might expect. In fact, I find that they don't even know what it is. And I tell them what it is, and it sounds exciting. And with some of the transitions that have recently taken place, I wasn't even sure exactly how to reconnect with it, to connect the students with it. So I think it's important that, what we would all say to not just, if our students are folks that we work with in our organizations, we need to be customer centric. One of the things we need to do, frankly, is advertise and let people know the resource that's available. And Jeff, it's great, here, it's great that there are so many people here. That's wonderful. And there's more that we can do. I think we need to get the message out there that we're here. You don't necessarily have to be, for example, a funded company to seek help from VMN. That's not the case at all. So
yeah, and
I wanted to message is what we want to push.
Yeah, and I would comments from others welcome. We did do a survey of some of our mentors that answered it, and while VMN has focused on businesses with specific business problems, we did see in our survey that people are interested in, I'm curious if this resonates with this group, with people anywhere on the continuum of starting a venture. And so please respond to that if you say, I think it's diverse in our network. What kinds of ventures people want to be working with at what stage. Okay, Phil, you had your hand up.
I just want to let me just jump in there for 1 second, Katrina.
Sure.
I just want to respond to Mark. I completely agree. I mean, I think we've done a mediocre, and maybe that's being kind. Maybe we're soft graders on ourselves. A mediocre job of awareness in general, and it's not just the venture mentoring network. It may be a little bit of, they probably know more about IDEA, but maybe they don't know about IDEA yet. There's little pockets of funding, and I got to tell you, every venture that I talk to, the first thing that's on their mind is, how do I get money? I need to get a little bit of money, and then and it's like they have no idea. They have no way. And so you're exactly right. I think the whole awareness thing needs to be a better run campaign across Boston and across all of the campuses.
Great. Chris?
Yeah, hi everybody. I was going to put these in the chat. It's funny, just last night I actually got an email from one of my students from the fall. I also teach in E&I, who I believe has graduated, who's like looking to raise capital, and he copied me. He actually copied Chris Wolfel, but then he copied a few VCs too. And he feels like he should be an inbound lead for VMN. Like he didn't specifically ask for mentoring, but I guess the question is, how do we do that? Do we refer him on to you, Katrina? Do we send him to the website? He was a student, so I know he's got a Northeastern connection, I assume. And like I said, I believe he graduated. He might still be on campus, but he is raising capital. And then the second one was related. I'm presuming that VMN means companies, and Jeff, you sort of answered this, or at least considering the venture capital route. That's the V. In other words, if they're a nonprofit or they're bootstrap or they decided to bootstrap, they're probably not a fit for this, but I just want to make sure that assumption is correct. Obviously, early stage.
Well, I think it's more open, and so we like to. The way we talk about it is there's at least three, but there's three primary types of mentors. One is this what we call first in, when they're trying to make or fit the product and market together, and you find out if there's a product market fit, that kind of thing. And there are certain mentors, some on this call here, who are just naturally good at that when it's early and it's really cloudy, you're not sure, all that stuff. There are individuals that can be very helpful to young companies for that. Then the second one is, building and scale. And that's, I think, what we typically think about, go to market, what's the right avenue to market, distribution plans, tweaking the product, things like that. You're sort of building the company and scaling it out. And then after that, there could be an invest mentor who has connections in the funding environment. And so I think we should have ventures across that continuum, and different mentors might be appropriate for different stages as the company goes through.
So I do want to jump in and say our network is not a tool, but we do have a tool that we use where everyone is at this point welcome, any student, and they do set up a quite detailed profile, as many of you know. And so, yes, refer people to me, but yes, I am going to utilize this tool to make sure everybody is being welcomed in and that we can get communication flowing a bit more. Not just using the tool which we have now, which is Cronus, but also some of the other tools that IDEA and others in our network use. I'm starting to spread out in how we're communicating. So thank you. And JR, I think you've had your hand up for a while. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So this is more of a logistics thing in terms of the quarterly meetings. When they were all virtual, they went pretty smoothly. You saw the speakers, you could connect with them in chat rooms afterward. It was a pretty nice process. I tried attending these hybrid events where you're really pushing to get everybody into Boston. Well, some of us can't make it. Attending those meetings virtually, I've never really connected with a company wanting mentorship, right? So I'm wondering if we shouldn't have at least once a year a completely virtual quarterly meeting that really allows you to engage with the founders, that type of thing.
That's great. Thank you. Do you still have your hand up, Chris? Yes, I think Phil Some people still have their hand up. Are you guys, Phil, did you have something?
I still have my hand up. So I'm going to take it down and speak.
Okay.
All right. So I want to address a concern that I have. I am mentoring a company now. And this goes to the logistics of being a mentee. Okay. And I've seen this. I've worked with now 3 programs, so 2 other than this one. And I've seen this problem across all 3. And it is something that's a personal peeve of mine, but it's unresponsiveness. Okay. And I realize these are young people. Okay. And they don't have, for the most part, business skills. And that's part of what we're trying to, impart to them, business skills. Okay. But it seems to me maybe the program, I know there are guidelines and all of that, but that maybe the program can provide some sort of more than just printed guidelines that are on a page that people look at once and never look at again. Okay. I have this company that I'm mentoring now, very nice guy, very smart guy, cancels meetings 2 minutes before the meeting. And then I say, okay, tell me if you can meet again next week or the week after. No response. I've had 2 different companies that I met with, but ultimately we didn't go on to have a relationship, who contacted me to have coffee meetings. And I said, sure, just let me know when. No response after that. So, frankly, it makes the experience a lot less satisfying. So, so I just feel this is something that the program, in an umbrella way, should address.
Great. Thank you so much. Teddy, did you either want to respond to that, or did you have other thoughts too?
I think, Phil, that's an excellent observation, and what I would say the example of different management styles. And if I can give you my example, when I first started at PricewaterhouseCoopers, let's just say many, many moons ago, the first deliverable I sent in, I still remember Donna, the partner I worked for, saying to me, Teddy, if this is the caliber of work you're going to be doing around here, you're not going to have a job very long. And I'm really glad that she gave me that direct, in-your-face advice. Now, I'm not saying, Phil, that's the advice we give to everyone. But I think for me, the advice is everyone here has their different style. And that's for me, the benefit of all kinds of different mentors, coaches who will give different points of advice. But I still think at the end of the day, there are certain ethics and business skills that our founders need to learn. And for me, one of those is you show up late for a meeting and I'm going to think twice before, I'm going to the next one. I do want them to learn, unlike the professor that I am, I tell them we're in the classroom. We are not practicing democracy in the classroom. We're simply preserving it. In the business world, if they're late with a project, I don't just discount their grade, I fire you. And so I think those are the type of lessons that I think they need to learn. And I like them to learn it in the context of the incubator that I see that Northeastern is, at least for their startups. And so let me just shift gears from there and go back to a question earlier. And Jeff, you addressed it across the board in terms of what type of companies. Are we just looking for venture capital raising? And my answer would be no. One, I sent a link here to all of you for the Future of Healthcare Founder Residency that's in April. Would love to have you attend. VMN will be there. And the Rue Institute actually invests hard money, capital into these companies, $50,000 in exchange for a percentage of ownership in the company. And by the way, many of those companies have learned that they can negotiate what that percentage of ownership is for that $50,000. So for me, this is an opportunity to get to meet some of these companies firsthand and then decide if you want to have a relationship with them. What I'd like to see is, and carrying on to Jeff's point earlier, why not we get the calendar of events in London, in Miami, in Charlotte, in wherever, and we use that to kind of expand, not just those within Northeastern, but those who want to come to Northeastern who maybe have no affiliation with Northeastern as a university, but see the benefit of what is the incubator, what is the mentorship. So I just wanted to provide those thoughts and feedback there.
So I'm going to also just mention, I do have some announcements and next steps that I want to get to with everyone. So I want to hear from Julie. I definitely want to hear from James. And anybody else who really feels like they need to say something today, please put your hand up, because then we will get to you. But then I'm going to shift to some next steps for us. So Julie?
Yeah, I'll keep it super quick. I just wanted to say, my experience working in the field of mentoring is that it is something that people feel humans just should be able to do innately. And the fact that we're having this conversation about how do we actually really prime these relationships and have these conversations, establish the expectations. We often find clients they're kind of don't want to invest in mentor. They're like, oh, we'll just put the intern on it and they'll set up the program and it'll be great. And it doesn't have the impact that it needs to have. So just the fact that this many people are here, that Northeastern is investing in this, Jeff, that you're, so involved in this, and the way that you're looking at some of those soft skills around leadership and also around professionalism and all that is part of it. It's just really exciting. So I just wanted to throw that in there. And I'll stop talking. Pass it to James.
Yes, I just sort of wanted to add to this discussion because it's a very important aspect of the mentoring we do, because we're mentoring students and they're learning. And over the years, 5 years, I have mentored about 15 ventures and currently have 3 that I'm mentoring. So I think there's a great need for more mentors to get engaged. And so this issue of how to do that is really important. One of the things that we've seen in terms of our quarterly meetings is the way they're designed, which is fine. They showcase 2 or 3 ventures, and the mentoring group shows up to hear them. It would be great if that were reversed. If we had a session where there are lots of ventures there that we get to meet in an informal setting. The last thing I will say in terms of the students learning, I would encourage something that Teddy said at the very beginning really resonates, is that this is a student-centric process we're in. We're mentoring students, not businesses. And that's really important in a university setting. So one of the things that I try to do, and so of those 15 mentors, I've seen everything from what Phil talked about to really conscientious students. And the issue is really what to do when you have a student who hasn't learned yet about the process. And the answer is you mentor them. And my approach to this is just to say, I have a certain amount of time that I want to provide to a mentor, a venture lead. That's their time. I give it to them. And if they don't use it well, I can mentor them about using it better. But it's their time. So it's not an issue for me if I get a call. I'm happy when I hear 2 minutes before that they can't make it versus not hearing from them at all. So it's the kind of thing that this is just the nature of this process.
Thank you so much, James. Appreciate it. Are there any final thoughts? Or as you can see,
I just want to, I really appreciate what I'm hearing here. I got 2. There's going to be more takeaways, but I got 2 that are sort of top of mind for me right now. One is the fact that it appears that we have more ventures that are percolating around and aren't aware of the ability to assign a mentor, or don't know how to do it, or don't try hard, or something like that. So that's something we'll try to figure out a way to make that a little bit smoother across the campus. And then the second thing is sort of this that Phil was bringing up. I would say is a code of responsibilities. So the mentor that comes in is going to give up their time, bring their expertise, really help out in hopefully a major way and make a big difference. And so that needs to be reciprocated. And so I think it's pretty appropriate. Just like I would say to the mentors, you need to be prepared to, X number of days, month, these companies, and that kind of thing. And everybody would say, no problem. We're signed up. I want to do it. It's in my heart. I want to give back, all that stuff. But the same thing should apply to the other side of the coin. And that if we're going to give one of our premier mentors, and all of ours are premier by definition, you're all here, then you've got to be professional. And Teddy took a hardline approach, but I would probably take a hardline approach too. You don't play ball the right way, we're going to take the ball and go away. You just can't do it. Can't do it that way. So I mean, there are things like this. Those are two good takeaways for me. So thanks, Katrina.
Yeah, and I think these need to be ongoing discussions as we are building what is our culture, which will always be information, always be evolving. And I do think I'm, of course, hearing this flow of ventures as a conversation. So I do have just a couple of things I just want to share with everyone. I'm going to share my screen again. First of all, do people see? Is this not? Do people see our anything? No.
Not yet.
Nope, not yet.
You see me. Okay. Here we go. Sorry. There we go. So first of all, I want to really thank our hosts. To the three of you, you are mentors to me in this effort of creating a mentoring network, if that's not multi-layered enough for you. But I do want to also thank everyone for being here today. I mean, we really do want to keep building a better network with and for you. And so these were our discussions. On this topic of venture pipelines, I'm not sure how many people know this, so I'm just going to go over it very quickly. These are our venture pipelines. We do have a lot of them. We have 8. Some of them are for students and alumni, and you see like Richards is not, Accelerator is not on here because we have not yet partnered with him, but we do have some student-led spaces and some spaces like the RU are leading or that faculty have led in the past, which is like with the NSF I-Corps program. So one of the things to know is that these accelerators have partnerships with us where there are matching processes. So you can see some of the upcoming matching processes, and I want to continue to do a better and better job of inviting people in and making sure people are aware of what's going on with our partnerships. Again, I'm hearing all the things about quarterly meetings, monthly. I'm hoping to make these monthly meetings. And so I do want to gather some quick feedback from those of you that showed up for a virtual meeting, which I will acknowledge is only a sector of our network that wants to come to virtual meetings. So I am doing things to reach out to other parts, but I'm so grateful you're all here today. And I really would appreciate if you could take 2 minutes to fill out the survey link so that I know a little bit more about what topics you would want in these kind of spaces. I am hearing that maybe they would have ventures in them also so that they could be spaces for ventures to meet. What are good times for these? What expertise could you bring to this group? Because it's another, not only do we have people not leveraging all their expertise for our ventures, but we're not fully leveraging our expertise that we know lives in all of you. I will just acknowledge a lot of people are part of other networks where there's team mentoring. That's not something we're doing right now, but if there is a space and place to lead that, for example, I think we want to think about all of these. Oh, I need to give access to that link. It should be open. I will do that. But I will put up as I'm going to let everybody look at this slide for a minute while I give access to the to everybody to fill out the survey. But here are some upcoming things that are happening March, April, and May. And I want to just open it up for any questions of any of these things that you see here. One thing, and I believe I saw Kyle, I do see that you are here. I was going to make a pitch about recruiting judges for your event, but do you want to do that real quick?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to drop in the chat the information I had, but we do have an upcoming event. We think our mentors are also really good at being a part of other activities that are going on across campus. And so this is here's some information in the chat about ways to just jump in and get involved if you're up for that. And these are Boston centric.
Yeah, thanks, Katrina. My name's Kyle Hannon. I'm the Entrepreneurship Program Manager over at Northeastern Library. So the event here that's happening on March 23rd, we call it the Break the T Innovation Challenge. This is a student event. It has nothing to do with founders creating actual companies, but essentially they're ideating, pitching, developing a competitor to the T. You can think of this as kind of an entrepreneurship hackathon over 8 hours. And so we did this in the fall. It was very popular. So now we're going to try to do one of these every semester. So this is our second opportunity, and we would love if anybody would like to serve as a judge. It's the event is from 10 to 6 on Sunday, March 23rd, but the judges don't need to be there in person, and you could just come in at 4 at the end and just watch the pitches. If you want to interested in that, please talk to me afterwards. I'll put my contact information in the chat.
Any questions about that fire hose of information that just came at you? So I can go back to the matching slide. I can go back to other opportunities, but any final questions on opportunities or next steps?
Katrina, just a random comment. Today I'm in my law firm office, and I have 2 co-op interns from Northeastern. Both of them actually started their own companies as part of starting with my law firm. And as they just left the door, they're like, we'd never heard of VMN before. So Jeff, I think we may have a couple of more mentees in the process here. So I do agree. Part of it is getting the word out to our students. And I think also equally to our faculty, letting them know of this resource and, how to direct students there. So thank you, Katrina, for all your work in putting this together. So.
All right. I'm happy to say that we are on time. I hope that everyone took away something for their mentoring, took away something about our network, and I'm hearing loud and clear that people want to be more engaged. I'm so appreciative of this time with everybody, and I thought, oh, maybe 20, it'd be good to get a group of 20 people together. I am so excited that 35 people showed up today to have this conversation. So to be continued is what I will say. Any final thoughts from? I would like just a final thought from Jeff, Teddy, and Julie, who have taken a lot of leadership in the last year in collaboration with me. We are looking for more leaders like Jeff, Julie, and Teddy. But a parting thought from each of you, and maybe I'll go in the reverse order. Julie, you want the first parting thought, Teddy, and then we'll let Jeff send us all off into the world?
Yeah, I mean, training and marketing. Mentoring programs don't just happen. You can't just build it and they will come. So making sure everybody's trained up and the opportunity to market this to all of our potential customers. So I think this is a great place to start. And I'm glad to be part of it. Thanks. Teddy.
Thank you, Julie. And I would say, James, your comments really stand out to me. And I think part of it is remembering that, we're here to help. As a mentor, our job is to be here to help and support. And sometimes it may be something that somebody doesn't know. They're learning. They're students by definition. And so I gave the example of what I call the club you over the head like a baby seal. But that is not me personally. But I must say that I think part of it is us educating them, getting to know their options, and then they can make their own decisions on where to go forward. So I thank all of you for your time and effort and your experience and willingness to bring that to the table with our students. So over to you, Jeff.
Okay. I appreciate everybody on the call coming in, and we've been at it for 10 years, and we have a lot more to do. And I think you're going to see the university invest quite a bit more over the next 24 months. I'm cautiously optimistic that there's going to be more, not less activity, and more money for awareness. And I think real stellar ventures will come out of this, ones that I think we'll be very proud to say are Northeastern spinouts. So thanks for everything you guys do. And I will look forward to talking with all of you over the course of the next, however many months.